What is going on, guys? It is Trifecta J here with the Season 3 offseason. It is finally here. We're going to go through, recap the offseason, and go ahead and move on to Season 4. Of course, we were victorious in our bowl game, our second straight bowl win after not making one at all in our first year, going 10-4. This year, a very good year. Of course, making the Pac-12 championship also. Started off well, ended up losing to number 9 South Carolina. That was a tough game and a tough matchup. Lost to Arizona State in a game that I feel like we really should have won. We're able to beat Oregon, who ended up as number 6, and then our offense basically just collapsed in the last couple of games. I thought overall Luke Falk had a nice year, not as good last year, more turnovers this year, but did throw for more yards overall, threw the ball more on the whole too. Gerard Wicks, another great year. Of course, his sophomore year was cut short, but he had a nice bounce back junior year, 205 carries, 1,700 yards. One of the more surprising players for me was Brett Bartolone, and a great year in the slot, led our team in receptions. After he played very well in the first couple of games and Wiley struggled with drops, he ended up moving into that number 3 spot. David Buchanan, another guy, senior starter, didn't really play much his first years on campus and played really well, led us in tackles. Robert Barber, a down year as a senior, only 4 sacks after coming off 11 last year. Not many turnovers, 3 interceptions by Daquan Brown. Now you look at some career stats, Sebastian LaRue is over 1,000 yards for his career. Jamal Morrow actually has almost 900 yards receiving. He will be a senior next year. Darius Lamore, 200 tackles so far in his career. Robert Barber, of course, graduating, 19 sacks, 34 tackles for losses, and Charleston White, 8 career interceptions. A look at the all NCAA teams. Robert Barber is second team all NCAA along with Greg Hoyd and Daquan Brown. A look at the Pac-12, as we had none on the first team. Robert Barber is your defensive tackle, Greg Hoyd, Daquan Brown, David Buchanan. Both of our safeties are represented along with Keith Harrington. Finally, some representatives from our offensive, as both of our running backs are second team all Pac-12. Surprised Gerard Wicks wasn't first team. Paris Taylor, the senior linebacker, also is your left outside linebacker on the second team. Justin Thomas won the Heisman, a very talented runner, not much of a passer, really good fit for that Georgia Tech offense. Nebraska is your national champion, a 40-20 victory over Auburn in the national championship. Auburn actually ends up with 3 losses on the year, as the runner-up ends up being number 8 in the year. But we will go ahead and move into the offseason, as we do have a contract extension from Washington State. I was not planning on leaving the school, and so we get a 5-year extension. We've done pretty well in their eyes. And now a look at the players leaving. Seniors leaving, no players transferring, but Gerard Wicks wants to go pro, projected to be a 7th round pick. We would try to persuade him, but I guess he decided he wanted to get paid instead of coming back to Washington State for his senior year. A lot of key defensive starters, though, who are just graduating as seniors. We end up actually having 2 players drafted. Robert Barber sneaks into the 7th round. Little surprised initially that he wasn't drafted, but it is good to see him, and that will definitely boost our draft ranking. Moving on to recruiting now. I feel like we have gotten most of the prospects that I really wanted to get in the regular season, but there were a few guys in the offseason who I really wanted to get. The number 1 target for me was Sidney Phillips. I feel like he could be a disruptive pass rusher off the edge. Nice speed, great pass rushing moves. Not sure if he would play right away as a freshman, but you can see we gave him a big dose of points, ends up as 6,000. Junior Johnson, a running back who I thought could be a nice speed threat in our offense. Really try and get him to the outside. Has some nice speed also at 6'1", out of Alabama. We have a very nice lead. He'll end up with around 1,000 points. A final look at our total points. James Moss and Nick Burley, who I feel like could be a very good pass rusher, along with Sidney Phillips, gets 1,500 points at 6'6", 252 out of. Now moving ahead to signing day, we'll see who we got out of those players. Daniel Hobbs also got a scholarship offer coming up on signing day, but Hobbs does not actually end up committing anywhere. Chad Moore goes to Ohio State. Cornelius Sims to Nebraska. Maurice Davis, a tackle prospect who is a gem, goes to Old Dominion. Marcus Brown to Alabama. But we get James Moss, Sidney Phillips, Junior Johnson, and Nick Burley. The 4 guys I was targeting, we got all of them. I think James Moss could be a nice power back and a compliment maybe to Junior Johnson a little later in their careers. A look at our final recruiting class. 4 or better star prospect Tony Gaines, of course, the absolute star of this recruiting class, and we all know where he's going. He's gonna be our quarterback. He probably will redshirt, though. We'll have to see moving forward. James Moss, looking at him as a running back. Looking through some of the other positions, though, actually could maybe play offensive line or something like that. But he would end up as our running back. Nick Burley, like I said, 6'6", 252, nice speed, has a couple good pass rushing moves. He would get moved to defensive end. And one of the other moves that I made is Daniel Ekuale. He's a bigger defensive end, not quite as fast, and he's going to be moved inside to defensive tackle. On to my favorite part of one of my favorite parts of the offseason is player progression. Luke Falk gets a nice boost. Jamal Morrow now the lone back and star back of our offense for this upcoming year. First time since his freshman year. So it'll be interesting to see if he can handle it. Did not play very well that freshman year. Richie Wiley with a nice up 5. Now River Craycraft is a 90 overall. A down year for us. Hopefully he can get back to what he was able to do his redshirt freshman year. Steve Stewart, Dave Robinson, and Xavier Archie get nice boosts at tight end. Steve Stewart will definitely be the starter though. Martin Woodard now an 88 overall. One of my favorite recruits we've had. Timothy Love, who will now be starting. Carlos Freeman now will move to center as a starter, a 90 overall. Clayton Little is going to be starting. So a lot of new starters on this offensive line. Also, Andre Dillard, he did start a little bit last year, but then was replaced after he ended up replacing our right tackle. Jesse Shaw gets a nice boost. Mataafa and Fernandez both get good boosts, both up to 80 overalls now. And our defensive tackles look to be a big strength of this team. 380 overalls and 85, 83, and 81. Linebacking core looking pretty strong. A battle coming up between Frankie Louvu and Brian Wiley, both closely overall. Of course, Brian Wiley was recruited by me, middle linebacker, maybe another battle. And then Greg Hoyt, of course, at right outside linebacker. A nice backup, though, in Alex Dixon, who might get some playing time as a redshirt freshman. Secondary looks to be much improved. After being young for the first 3 years of this dynasty, we have 3 seniors, 1 junior, and then a nice freshman in Marcel Stewart. Suleiman Hamid will now be the starting free safety. Lamora returns for his senior year, now a 95 overall. He looks to be poised for a huge year, and we definitely hope he does, as he could be a high draft pick in this upcoming draft. Same with Jamal Morrow. But both of them do have problems with size, not very big guys that might hold them back a little bit in the NFL, but a lot of talent now on this team. I feel like more talent than we initially had. A little more detailed look at some of the positions. A very similar breakdown between our 3 quarterbacks, and at receivers, some nice progressions. Like I said, now River Craycraft does not look to be dropping anything. Wiley's catching is up. Catching traffic is also up. He really struggled with that last year at left end. A look at some of the pass rushers that we have and right end. Some nice speed boost to Hercules Mataafa and Kingston Fernandez, who probably will both rotate a lot and both get some good amount of snaps. A look at their pass rushing moves. Kingston Fernandez, not a big guy, but more of a bull rusher than more of a speed finesse type of player. Brian Wiley, a comparison between Wiley and Louvu. Seeing who might get the start there, we'll have to get a look at that in the first game, which will be coming up hopefully pretty soon. A look at our secondary, a lot of nice ratings there. White, Griffin, and Farrar all have good ratings. And moving on to cutting players, this is my least favorite part of the offseason. Chris Collins, a walk-on 1-star guard, will be cut. It causes us to lose a pipeline in Hawaii, but he's not worth having on the roster for that. Corey Little, a walk-on center, another 1-star prospect, a 51 overall. He will definitely be cut now for 4 more guys. Justin Rogers, who walked on last year, does not really have the speed that I look for in my defensive ends to be good pass rushers, so he would be cut. Now at fullback, a walk-on JUCO fullback is going to be cut in Cameron Fuller. He looked to be a guy that I thought about keeping on the team with Chapman getting a little bit older, but he would end up just being cut. Vince Dixon, a talented safety, 6'4", but he honestly just can't cover anyone, so he would end up being cut. And then our final cut will be Mike Williams, the 6-foot quarterback, not a strong arm and not very fast. Actually a solid scrambler, but not great, and Curtis Broussard is much better than him. So looking at red shirts, Tony Gaines does get the red shirt, both running backs. Andrew Johnson at wide receiver gets the red shirt. A lot of offensive linemen who do return. John Taylor, though, will get the red shirt at right guard. One of the players I really considered starting or even playing really as a freshman was Sidney Phillips, but he would end up getting the red shirt. A walk-on Luke Harris, who looks to be a talented player, gets red shirted, and our 2 cornerback recruits get red shirted. But with 3 seniors coming up, they might have a chance to play some next year. Suleiman Hamid, like I said, will be the starting free safety. Justin Haley getting red shirted at strong safety, and Frank Colbert at punter, a 74 overall, who will replace Jordan Scalo next year. A look at our schedule for the upcoming year. Louisiana Tech at UTSA in week 3, and we play Southern Cal and UCLA in a 3-week span. That should be a tough schedule right there, along with West Virginia, who is ranked number 20 in the preseason poll. Like I said, our first game, though, at home against Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech, this should be a pretty easy game for us to win, a tune-up game. You look at the top 25, Notre Dame, Nebraska, UCLA, and USC. But Notre Dame has a tough contest week 1 against Texas. Maybe a chance for UCLA and USC to move up in the polls. Even with our increased talent level, still only projected for the 3rd place finish in the Pac-12 North. And the Pac-12 as a whole, we're projected to finish 5th. So the 2 top teams in the Pac-12 looks like are USC and UCLA. Both teams we have to face, along with Oregon and Washington, so we have to face the top 4 teams. And look at the early Heisman poll. Malik Zaire, Will Greer are among the players who are the early candidates for the Heisman. All NCAA first team, a couple of nice players, some players from the Pac-12, and we would end up having one person. Darius Lamora is one of the people now on second team. Malik Zaire is the quarterback there. Sony Michel is the running back. And on defense, Greg Hoyd gets that nod. And that's it for the first team and second team all NCAA. So now Pac-12, Jamal Morrow, first team all Pac-12 to start the year. And Daniel Akiwale, Greg Hoyd, along with Darius Lamora and Keith Harrington as the returner. Second team, Luke Falk actually gets the nod at quarterback, so that's nice to see. Hopefully he can have a big senior year and really close out his career on a high note, and Mataafa and Farrar. But like I said, our first game is against Louisiana Tech to kick off the 2016 season and season 4 of this dynasty. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like down below. Leave your comments on the offseason down below. I will see you for that week 1 matchup. Hope to have that up pretty soon. I hope you have a good day, cause I'm out.